I'm Christopher Nolan at Ethos Veterinary Hospital.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Manzullo.
Talking today about allergies in pets,
Spaying and neutering your pet.
pet weight management. And we're going to talk today about pet summer fun and safety. But doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, I got
You're
a lot
good,
of
good
treats.
girl. You got a lot of
I'm a
treats,
good
a lot
girl.
of
Let me
TD
jump
treats.
up on that table. And welcome back to the podcast. I'm Dr. Christopher Nolan.
And I'm Dr. Lindsay Manzullo. Glad to have you back.
So today we are going to talk a little bit about ways to keep your pet from really injuring themselves by licking.
Yeah, licking or chewing post-operatively if they have some sort of underlying skin condition, allergies, something that's going to make them want to lick and chew at their skin.
So we're going to put up a picture in a second that's a little gross. So if you're really grossed out by things like this, then I would just say, when we say go, then you look away, and then when we say it's gone, then you can look back. So right now, go. We're putting up a picture of a cat who actually really did some damage to a surgical incision that they had. The cat had a surgery and then just ran under the bed for 3 days and just destroyed that incision.
And it's hard too, because as an owner, you see your cat, staying calm and still and is under the bed, and you think that, okay, well, they're letting themselves rest and get themselves better. But unfortunately, a lot of times animals' natural tendencies is to lick or try to clean themselves and try to help out whatever incision might be there, whatever wound might be there. And
so the picture's gone now.
Yeah,
you
picture's gone. Come back.
Okay.
Come back. But unfortunately, when they lick and chew at themselves, they really aren't doing much benefit to themselves. They're actually a lot of times doing harm, and so we have to try to help them stop doing that.
So we have a lot of things that we can use. There's the classic cone of shame.
Yeah.
Right? So the cone of shame is
lampshade.
Called a lampshade or an e-collar, Elizabethan collar. So these are usually some form of a plastic, a flexible plastic. Most of the time they're clear. You can get them opaque. And they are, again, to try to avoid licking, and it really depends on the area of the body that you're trying to prevent, how effective they're going to be.
Yep.
But, these get a lot of criticism, but let's try this on and see.
Let's see how it goes.
Here, put it on, Lindsay.
All right, here we go. Oh, it does fit.
Okay. And hang on.
Let me
just 1 second.
Move our microphone. Can you still hear me in the set? All right, good.
Okay. So how does that feel?
So it is, it's nice. I mean, I can still see you, Krista.
Yeah.
I can still see the studio. But definitely I feel like I'm in a cone of shame.
Yeah, you feel a little constricted.
I feel constricted. However,
try to nibble on your fingernails, please.
So, let me see. Well,
no, I'm not saying pretend. I mean for real. Like, right. So like it actually is, pretty hard.
It actually does work.
It's right. So you could probably bend it if you were desperate. Now also try to lick your knee.
Let's see.
Please. Could you normally lick your knee? Wait a minute.
I actually think I'm quite flexible, but this is
so
definitely
you
hard.
Able to, right? Yeah. So most people probably can't lick their bellies, which is where these incisions are, but dogs can. But we usually can lick our knees or, and she can't do that.
No, definitely can't. This is keeping my head away from the rest of my body.
So it is pretty effective. It's not pretty, and some dogs are going to run into the wall. Right.
Well, I think that's what you end up getting. You get a dog that's very unhappy, so you put this on a dog, and they're going to start running, trying to paw it off their head. They'll
hitting the wall.
Hit the wall. They'll walk into you, and so it can be really, very hard for owners to see their dogs struggling with a cone on their head. But a lot of dogs do get used to it after they've had it on for a bit, and they just kind of accept the fact that this is going to be on their head.
And you might need to take it off for eating, right? Because it might be a little bit hard for them to eat or drink, so you have to watch them with it.
The thing about e-collars too. Oh gosh, let's see if we can get it off. Thank you so much. The thing about e-collars too for dogs, you do have to size it appropriately, because just how you saw, me struggling with licking my, my hands, we're being funny, but you want to make sure that when you put your dog's head in there, their muzzle, you don't want it to extend out past this lampshade, this cone part here.
Because then they could lick.
Then they could essentially get around. So you do want to make sure whenever you get a knee collar that it's fitted appropriately for your particular dog. Some of the dogs that have more of that brachycephalic or that shorter smushy face, they don't need their head to you can get a bigger one to kind of help cover all those areas.
And it also depends a little bit on where on their body you're trying to avoid them licking, right? Because if it's their shoulder, then almost anything will work. But if it's like their toe, they might more readily get around it. So
yeah, definitely.
So these are reasonably cheap, actually. Like most hospitals sell them for like $12 to $20, depending upon the size and everything. And I think they're pretty effective. They're not always, people say, oh, I want to get a nicer one, but they're pretty effective.
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite ones as far as efficacy goes and cost. So I mean, it's cheap. It works.
So then we have these, which I found at the pet store. And, this is the same, whoa.
Let's move it. Get that. There we are.
Okay.
Perfect.
Can you hear me now? So this is the same size as the other one.
How do you feel in there?
Well, so this one's freaking me out. I mean, like, it's dark in here. I tried the on before. This is terrible. It
tries to have a couple of plastic windows here to let you see, but you're right, for the most part, this material is covering your vision.
So, my problem with these always, and I experienced this when I try it on too, is I can reach.
Yeah.
And I can really easily bend this.
Yeah.
And I don't find them very effective for almost anything.
I think that a dog that is determined to get at a certain area will take that, and because that plastic is bendable.
Oh, I just got a cramp.
I think they'll be able to get to it. And I actually have seen a dog, have that on. The owners think it's nicer in the sense that when it runs into the owner's leg, it doesn't hurt as much, I guess, as the hard plastic, but it's not effective. It's just not as effective.
So I just don't like it.
Yeah, no, right? Yeah. Look what you can do.
Okay, so I would generally say these are, and this was $37. These are maybe not worth it.
Let me help you. There we go.
But they're hard to get off.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not a big fan. I will say though, don't you think, Dr. Vernaliken, that most clients think that these are nicer and these are better?
So people think that those are the fancier ones because they cost more and they look like they might be more comfortable. I did not feel like they're more comfortable.
This one here, this is I always refer to this one as the Coast Guard.
Oh, I call it the donut.
The donut?
Yeah.
I feel like when you put this on, it looks like the Coast Guard
just rescued you.
Has just rescued you.
Yeah.
So this one here.
Right, how do you feel about that one?
So this one is nice in the sense that you get more of the periphery. Can you hear me okay in the studio? Thumbs up. But efficacy of it, I don't know.
Well, can you lick your, right?
This is going to be useful for very limited wounds, very limited incision spots.
Or really low-key dogs.
Yeah, exactly,
right?
really
they
low-key
just
dogs.
sit there.
They look adorable. They're super cute. It's almost like a nice little decorative scarf, but I don't know.
That was the biggest size that they had.
I'll have you try this on.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel particularly uncomfortable.
Yep.
For sure.
Sort
but
of like
I
you're going
totally
on a plane
still
ride.
Bite my nails.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I can still, yep.
Yeah. The one benefit in a dog is a lot of dogs will have a little bit of a longer neck and will use that neck to really turn, and so it does prohibit that neck from really getting some good.
Right, so if you had a wound up here.
Yeah,
maybe.
so very limited spots of where you're going to be able to use that for. But yeah, so I guess.
Also expensive, $40.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah. All right, and then I also brought one of these, which they're relatively limited, right? Because they're only for your paws. But these are something, and there's plenty of different kinds that you might put on a limb. And there's different brands and everything.
You know what I like about this one? I like that this one you can actually customize in a lot of ways.
Right,
so you can,
how tight you put it on.
Yeah, how tight you put it on.
You can even do this little drawstring up here.
Really get it tight.
So, I'm pretty impressed by this one.
These ones I do like. I like it because it's got the grippies underneath here. So if you take your dog out or on a slippery, hardwood surface, it's going to have some sort of traction, which is nice. And I like how you can customize how tight you make it. which is nice too. Sometimes I have people use this if we've splinted or bandaged a wound or a limb, and you just want to put that on to keep it nice and clean and dry when you're taking your dog out for a walk.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice.
Yeah. So they're good for limited purposes. There are going to be plenty of dogs that are going to, destroy these, and then you need to put one of those on also.
Yeah.
But
well, that's a good point though, because some dogs, I mean, we do see a lot of dogs that can come in, let's say, this is probably my number one concern is if you have a dog that comes in for a foreign body ingestion and you've done foreign body surgery, which means it's eaten something that it shouldn't have eaten, like a pair of socks or something in the house.
And then they eat this.
It gets stuck. And so you do surgery. You have to make a nice incision on the abdomen, take that, whatever that object is out. And then after you do the surgery, you need to stop that dog from licking the incision. So we recommend to put a cone on, and the cone is something to help prevent the go of the incision. But if it's got anything else on the limb or anything else that you're putting on that body, I worry about those dogs chewing that off and ingesting it as well. So sometimes if they do, they have a wound or something here, and they're known foreign body ingestion dogs to wear that cone too as well.
To keep them away from it,
Yeah.
A little sweaty in there, but otherwise good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point too, is that you
They're
want to
not
make
as
sure that
breathable.
you're not going to keep your dog's paw in this long term without kind of monitoring it, because it can get really hot and you don't want to have wounds get really, really hot and sweaty and moist in there.
So other things, like there's plenty of homegrown things that you can try, and we often recommend like baby onesies for an abdominal incision. There are actually custom made ones for dogs and cats. They have little sleeves, little outfits that you can put on them. So it really just depends on your animal's industriousness in getting after things and kind of where the wound is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no duct tape, no home bandages that you were going to put on and then cut off the circulation of your animal's paws.
Yeah.
So we do, you have to be a little bit careful with it.
Yeah.
So
that's that. That's e-collars in a wrap. So I guess if we were to say our favorite, probably
I still like
standard.
that. Yeah, even after wearing them.
Yeah.
I felt very comfortable in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So then now we have a new
Switching gears.
segment that we're going to be doing, which is called Under the Scope. We picked food. So I had to go to get dog food for my dog today, and so I picked up a bag of dog food, and we were thinking about kind of picking through the marketing. Now this particular dog food is not one that we necessarily love or hate. I do feed my dog this, but plenty of companies have great marketing claims and really bad food, really good, really bad marketing claims. Great food, it's very, very variable. So,
well, it's hard too, because I mean, the marketing on a lot of these brands of food, it's very loose as far as the regulations go. So, you can put a lot of, hyped up wording that makes it seem like it is the best type of food.
You take your food.
I'll take my cat chow.
We just stole this from one of the other doctor's desks temporarily, so
yeah, we did. Just so we had
cat chow.
a couple to show you guys.
So, I've got some claims here. We've got adult dogs. Yours is for adult
Mine
cats.
is for indoor cats, yep.
We have the brand. That's just going to tell you the brand. This one happens to be small breed bites.
Yep.
Smaller size. Yours is?
Mine's mainly listed for adult cats, but it's mainly listed for indoor cats.
Indoor.
Yep.
Okay. So, on the front of the bag, you really have to look at things with a lot of caution. So this particular one says limited ingredient diets. That's a particular reason my dog has food allergies, so it has limited ingredients. And it says grain-free. We did talk a little bit about grain-free and the marketing hype associated with that on a previous episode. And our brand name is Natural. You have Natural on your bag too.
I do have Natural on my bag. I think a lot of people now want natural things for their animals, but as we were talking earlier, natural doesn't always mean good. I mean, Dr. Van Alken made a funny joke that lilies are actually natural, and you wouldn't want your cat to eat natural lilies.
Because lilies will kill your cat.
Lilies will kill your cat.
What else is natural? Chocolate.
Yeah.
Not good for dogs.
Opium.
Yeah, opium.
Yeah.
That's natural. There's a lot of things that are natural. So natural, it does have a definition, and it means derived from ingredients that are not synthetic. It means derived from plants or animals. That doesn't necessarily, that doesn't mean a ton. So, I mean, if you have a vitamin that is directly extracted from a plant versus a vitamin that is the exact same molecule that is created in the lab, is that really different? I would argue that it's not.
Right.
But
I think you get some people that have That's obviously why the marketing claim is out there, but I don't think that you take it with a grain of salt,
Right.
which is natural.
So I don't have any more claims on mine. Do you have claims?
Mine says, plus vitamins and minerals on there. It talks about natural fiber.
Well, do you know why it says naturals plus vitamins and minerals?
Well, because they have to add in some of those.
Because all the vitamins and minerals are not all natural, but they can't say it's 100% natural unless every single thing that's in there is. So they have to say plus vitamins and minerals.
Yeah.
It's just a way to get around it.
And let's see, anything else? No artificial flavors or preservatives. Okay.
Which is good. I don't want artificial colors and preservatives in there. But.
No.
All right. Want to flip it over?
Yeah, switch it over.
Well, you might have your stuff
I think
on
it's
the
on my side, yeah.
Okay. So you're going to usually have the daily feeding guidelines, and those are ballparks, right? They're based upon the calorie content for the food.
Yep.
Do you trust those always?
It's funny because
start with them. I guess.
Yeah, it's a good starting place. Every animal is so different. Their RER, which is called the resting energy requirement, really varies from animal to animal. Their activity level, a lot of diseases that are going on, or their healing properties. So take it with a grain. Again, another with a grain of salt.
I will say that it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine when someone comes and says, "I feed a cup," but every food actually is different, so I don't know that everyone realizes that a cup, it's like if you said you ate a cup of salad and a cup of meat, right? Those very clearly are very different. Well, these foods can be widely variable.
Definitely.
Really.
The caloric content of the food is varied, for sure.
So then we have a guaranteed analysis. Do you have that on here?
Oh, sure. Yep.
So just a briefing about what that is that's going to be, that's what the USDA or AFCO, they require you to list the content of certain things, the percentage in the food. So I've got, for example, crude protein, 21% minimum. That means they're going to have more, but they have at least 21%.
Yeah, mine's at 38%. Cat food in general tends to be higher proteins because cats will eat higher protein diets.
But the thing that I'll say about this is just the total. Like you take the food, you pour it into a bowl, and that's the percentage of protein that's in there. So if you looked, for example, at a can, it's going to be like 6%. Mm-hmm. But the reason is that moisture is also part of that analysis. So this dry food has 10% moisture.
Yeah, and this is at 12.
Most, right?
Yep.
So you need to take that into consideration, and there are formulas to figure out the actual dry matter protein content, but you can't just look at only that. So one thing you won't see there is carbohydrates. Mm-hmm. I actually don't know exactly why they never list. You have to subtract it off. So you take 100%, subtract everything else, and that's the carbohydrate content.
Yeah.
What else? Do you have anything more to say about the?
No, I think that, again, as far as when you're looking at protein, I think that clients, for the most part, will sort of hone in on that one particular line item, which is fine. But, again, you need to figure out why your dog or cat is being fed a particular type of food and not necessarily worry so much on exact percentages. The number.
Right, the number. Okay, so then we have ingredients. Is that your next thing?
Yep.
Ingredients are like the biggest, I think, hot topic and also misunderstood.
Totally.
So ingredients are listed in order of how much they go into the food by weight. So there's a lot of this marketing. Meat, real meat is the number one ingredient.
Right.
So that will be true on that food, but that just means that they're taking that food and they're weighing it and saying, okay, there's more meat than there is anything else. But meat has a lot of water in it.
Yeah.
So if you said meat versus meat meal or chicken versus chicken meal is dried up chicken. That's all that is. That actually, you could be putting more protein into it from chicken meal than from the chicken. So just a caveat.
And the same thing with byproducts too, sort of in that same realm, as far as chicken byproducts or beef byproducts, a lot of people don't like the fact of it being a byproduct, but we had a nutritionist come and talk to a lot of the doctors at our hospital about just sort of this byproduct, paranoia, and it's not that bad. It really isn't.
It's actually not what
people think. People think you're talking about little claws
and
just total,
So it actually specifically excludes most of the garbage, and it just says that it can be organ meat. So if your food says, if your ingredients say chicken liver, that is chicken byproduct.
It is.
It's just specifically the chicken liver.
And I don't think people have as much of an aversion to that.
Right.
But so don't be too afraid if you're seeing like a chicken byproduct as one of the first ingredients listed, because it's really not bad.
So I've got sweet potatoes, salmon, fish meal. I looked up fish meal. Fish meal is ground up fish, dried ground up fish. And it can be sometimes some of the things that were cleaned out of, so it could be bones.
Okay.
But then remember that our dogs and cats actually need calcium, and that could be a natural source of calcium. So there are reasons for some of those things. So, so sweet potato, salmon, fish meal, potato protein, canola oil, and then we've got a bunch of, let's see, salmon oil, minerals, vitamins, and that's pretty much it. What do you have?
So my first one is the chicken byproduct. I really wasn't meaning to plug byproducts before I talked about it, but it is true. So chicken byproduct meal, corn gluten meal, soy flour, brewer's rice, animal fat. And so, I mean, there is a lot of
vitamins.
Stuff. Some cornmeal, now some vitamins here, some powdered turkey. So, I mean, again, you know, you look at this and I think that some people, you know, get a little bit turned off by some byproducts or meals and stuff like that. But a lot of these are, as you know, Dr. Van Alken has said, you know, good sources of proteins.
And it is true that these are different price point foods, right? So that's a food that you might just get at a supermarket, and you're going to be able to pick it up off the shelf. And it's going to be a little bit cheaper, and it's cheaper because some of the ingredients are a little bit less costly.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad for your specific cat. It may or may not be right for your cat.
Yep.
But just don't, you know, hone in too much on that. And then the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about is the nutritional, the AFCO statements. These both have a similar statement, which is that this food is formulated to meet the nutritional levels established by American Feed Control Officials, AFCO, dog food profiles. What does yours say?
I was trying to find where that one was.
It was buried in the thing.
Is it buried in here?
Yeah, I think it's the same.
On the same side? No, it's not that side.
This side. Right, formulated to meet the nutritional levels established. So the AFCO is an independent body that is supposed to provide guidelines for these foods so that they all meet the nutritional requirements of the animals. And they do have several categories. One is this food just meets those requirements. So it's like, here's a recipe if it fits the recipe. There are foods by a lot of different companies that are feeding trial tested. And there's pros and cons to that. The food trials are not necessarily a big comprehensive thing. They only last for a certain period of time, and they contain only a small number of animals.
Yep.
But I will say that I, generally speaking, would put a lot more faith in a food right off the bat that has been food trial tested.
Yeah,
You
I
feed
do
it
too.
to
I
a
think
real
it's-
animal.
Yeah, you feed it to a real animal. There's been a lot more invested in it, I feel like, as far as the research behind it. So I feel the same way.
So obviously, I feed my dog a food that wasn't food trial tested, and the reason for that is that there's just fewer and fewer foods that are. But I think it's just an added layer of security.
Now, maybe we should mention, before we leave the food, you know, how much to feed your animal, because that's also another big sticking point. So you feed your dog this. Do you follow the exact feeding guidelines as far as the amount of cups per day?
No, I start with that.
Okay.
So, like, my dog is 13 pounds, 15 pounds. She's gained a bit. Perhaps I should be feeding her according to the guidelines. So she's in the middle of this 10 to 20 weight category, and it says to feed 1 to 1 2/3 of a cup per day. And I feed her 1 cup per day. So she's kind of on the low end of that.
Yep.
So half a cup twice a day.
I feel like most pets, do you feel like most of your patients tend to, on the guidelines here, they kind of overestimate a little bit,
Yeah, I
and
think
that
they
you
do.
teel to go towards the lower end? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
And
the
if I
same
go
way.
more than that, I mean, she's already putting on a little bit on that.
Yep.
So she'd probably be better off eating like 3/4 of a cup a day.
Yeah.
And she'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I do. I think a lot of animals, you know, a lot of people overfeed anyway. A lot of people's cups are a bit different. They think that one giant scoop of their huge
Just a scoop,
mug is
whatever.
the same equivalent as a standard measuring cup. So that can definitely impact it. And
Yeah,
then
this means one like cup like you would measure if you were making a cake.
Yep.
An 8-ounce cup,
Yep.
dry measure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely look at that too. What else is on here? Anything else? I think that's pretty it.
That's pretty much it. So these are not the most egregious in terms of their marketing. There's some
No.
like holistic.
Yes.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It just means absolutely nothing. There's a lot of marketing. So we're just suggesting in our Under the Scope segment that you just don't be a patsy and don't fall for just marketing, 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 really look a little bit closer.
Yeah,
And talk to your vet if you have questions.
definitely.
So I think that's it for this segment, for this episode.
Yeah.
We were happy to have you. And join us.
Keep emailing us,
Yeah,
too.
email us.
Any questions that you may have. We'll put the email up on the bottom of the screen. We love answering emails. And hopefully we'll get us some phone calls, too, at some point. We're hoping to get maybe a phone call segment in at one point.
Yeah, we may be able to do phone calls in the future. So if you'd like to be on our show, then send us an email, and we will look into that in the future.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us.
I'm Krista Vernaliken.
Dr. Lindsay Manzullo, thank you very much. We'll see you next time.